Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check check check. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us. There's absolutely no way I wanted to begin today's program with this news, but I received an email yesterday from Dwayne Eddy's fan club, the Dwayne Eddy Circle. And I wanted to pass it along to you if you have not heard. It is with a heavy heart that I must let you know that Dwayne passed away peacefully last night. So not on the 1st, but on the 30th. Deed, his wife, is in our thoughts at this sad time. We will all remember Dwayne as being one of the few musicians who created a sound that was recognizable from the opening bars of his music. And we will always remember how much Dwayne valued his fans. When Dwayne met people after a concert, he would recognize many fans from meeting them on previous tours. I don't think any other musician of his stature would have been able to do that. Being a fan was almost like being a member of an extended family. We will all miss him so much. That's from Dwayne Eddy's fan club. You may recall just last week we were celebrating on this program his 86th birthday. And there was some nice coverage of it, and we had hinted towards a group that we had formed here in Corning to get him recognized. I don't know how to pay tribute this morning. If you're not familiar, and I should set the scene here because I can't assume that everybody knows who Duane Eddy is. Duane Eddy was born in Corning, and if you happen to search his name on Google today and you see the obituaries that are coming up, nearly all of them mention that he was born in Corning. That was something he was very proud of. Now, he moved away and he went to Bath and Penn Yan, and the Penn Yan Mustang logo at the high school was originally drawn by Duane Eddy, just as a side note. But if you're not familiar with his amazing career, he's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member back in, I want to say 1994, Musicians Hall of Fame. Recently, he was inducted into the Steuben County Hall of Fame, which he deemed a real honor. And I thought in tribute, and we'll do this in just a moment because I want to talk a little bit more about this, but I didn't want to play the full interview because I know I've played it a lot on tribute shows, or I should say best of shows, where Duane Eddy was kind enough when this program first started. I want to say not even a month in. He was kind enough to join us and give us a very lengthy interview. I had posted the full interview on Facebook and on YouTube just last week in honor of his 86th birthday. So if you did miss that interview, I would say feel free to go to our YouTube page, to our website, WYDC-TV.com. Go to Facebook, wherever you feel most comfortable, and click on that link and you can watch the full interview. But I thought in tribute I would play the video that he sent to the Steuben County Hall of Fame when he was getting inducted. Because of COVID, it was a delay in the induction, so he was not able to make it to the event. But he sent in, I think, a very nice tribute video. I keep saying tribute. A nice video to thank the people of Steuben County for honoring him and inducting him into the Hall of Fame. But Duane Eddy, the king of twangy guitar, the king of twang, has passed away at the age of 86. Eddy died of cancer at the Williamson Health Hospital in Franklin, Tennessee, as according to his wife, Dee. Now, Eddy sold more than 100 million records worldwide. Twang is what it was. His sound was defined as. It changed the face of rock and roll. And the reason I've talked about this, let me give a little background story. When I first started in radio, the first time I was put on the air, I was trying to think of things to talk about. Back then, the show was 3 hours, and I was brand new to the position. So I said, how am I going to fill 3 hours? Well, in my mind, I could fill 3 hours because it's deceiving how long 3 hours is. I could fill the time talking about Duane Eddy and talking about his legacy and his career and how Corning has never really recognized the fact that Duane Eddy was born here. As a matter of fact, in his first bio, if you will, when he was first making it very famous, Rebel Rouser and Have Twangy Guitar Will Travel had come out. And in his first official bio, it said something to the extent, I'm paraphrasing, but Corning may not know that Duane Eddy was born there. And I always thought that was a shame, that not more was done. So I talked about it on my first show. I did not fill all 3 hours, but we recouped and talked about other things as well. Well, fast forward 10 years after that, on the 10-year anniversary show, I finally got in contact with Duane, and we had a great interview. And after that time, I'm honored to say, I say it humbly, but I'm honored to say that we became friends. I got to meet him. He visited Corning. We had great conversations. I would talk to him and his wife, Dee. We took him over to Bridge Street where there's that mural with his likeness on it. And you may have seen those pictures. I think I popped that up on the screen last week for his birthday. And he was, to what the fan club was saying there, he was one of the nicest people. Checking in, I would email him. He would email me around holidays. But we talked every couple of months. And every once in a while, we'd have a very lengthy phone call. And it was amazing to hear the stories. I would kind of sneak a notebook by and write down some of the things he was saying because it was just so fascinating, being such a part of music history. And he was so humble about it, never bragging about his accomplishments or what he did, just talking matter-of-factly about his career and about some of the things he found interesting. I was, again, so happy that I had the opportunity to see him in concert when he was playing in Las Vegas. I went, it was him, the Stray Cats, and Jerry Lee Lewis, and his show was amazing. That was just a few years ago. I want to say maybe 2018, somewhere around there, and it was just an amazing show. And even this piece from the New York Post says, Eddie was born in Corning, New York. So he never shied away from that. He was very proud of it. I was watching an interview with him just yesterday after I heard the news, and it was with Ray Stevens. You may remember Ray Stevens. He had a show for a while, and same thing. He started talking about Corning and talking about the glass. He liked talking about being born in the place that's known for the glass, he would say. I found this kind of be a cute little story that the New York Post included in the obituary. Eddie was not a vocalist. As you know, he's the most influential instrumentalist, rock and roll instrumentalist of all time, the greatest of all time. Eddie was not a vocalist and sang in an interview back in 1986, quote, "One of my biggest contributions to the music business is not singing." So I will mention this again later on. I want to play that. I don't want to call it tribute. I just think it's worth playing. We'll play it after the break. And we are going to talk about the news this morning as well. But I believe that is news, and I'm not sure you'll see it everywhere unless you're tuned in with some of the national scene looking for things like that. It was on the relatively front page. I don't know how that works on websites of the New York Post. New York Times had a piece on it. Variety, I believe it was, Billboard, Rolling Stones, as I just showed you on the screen. So Corning native, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member, and Musicians Hall of Fame member Duane Eddy has passed away at the age of 86. I just talked to him probably not even a month ago, and he said he was doing good and everything was, he was looking forward to visiting in our area soon. So you'll have to pardon me if I talk about this maybe too long, as we know that there's, it's not too long, but as there's so much breaking news going on with the protests and so much breaking news going on in the political scene, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that in just a moment. So please bear with me and humor me for a moment as I talk about a dear friend that we lost in Duane Eddy, a proud Corning native. So when we come back from the break, I'm going to play you the video that he sent to the Steuben County Hall of Fame when he was getting inducted. And then that'll be our tribute, and then we'll get into the news of the day. So please stay with us. By the way, coming up, get your questions in. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, we will be talking with fan favorite, former Congressman Joe Sempolinski. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Was your premature baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
What's up, guys? What I'm about to show you is going to change the way you shave your head forever.
You can shave your head in 90 seconds or less.
With no cuts or nicks. It's 100% waterproof.
It even works in the shower.
Introducing Remington's Balder Boss. With increased flex and 5 dual-track floating head design, get over 60% more head coverage for a faster, closer shave and skin-close results.
No nicks, no scrapes. Fit in the palm of my hand, and the results were amazing.
Shave in the shower or with any foam or gel. with Japanese grade steel blades plow through the thickest of hair. Anytime, anywhere. There's even a pop-up trimmer to complete your perfect groom. Now, you can try the Remington Balder Boss in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Complete with a 5-year limited warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can also get our ear, nose, and brow trimmer free. Just pay separate processing and handling.
Give it a try. You won't be disappointed.
Order your Balder Boss now.
The team competition is over.
Box Thursday.
One Japanese bento box.
It's every chef.
How'd you do a sushi roll with no rice?
I don't know.
For themselves.
One more thing.
3 people going into elimination. This is insane.
An all-new Next Level chef. Then on an all-new Farmer Wants a Wife. Some say goodbye.
I'm gonna miss you.
And some say hi to family.
How soon do you feel like you guys are ready to have kids?
Oh my God.
Can I tell you who my favorite is?
Who?
Tonight.
And we are back, frankly speaking, as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. As I mentioned, and we are going to get to the news, but I want to, again, since Dwayne Eddy has passed away at the age of 86, I wanted to play this clip, again, to set the scene. If you were not at the Steuben County Hall of Fame inductions that year, I'm not sure if this has been seen. I don't believe I posted anywhere, maybe. But I thought this would be fitting just to, so you could see how much it meant to him to be recognized, even a little bit, by his home area, that he was born in Corning, went on to achieve such great things, an amazing career. And it's also something to think about, because I know we have a lot of people out there that are music fans. I get the comments from you a lot. You think about the rock pioneers, the Elvises, Jerry Lee Lewis's, Carl Perkins, there's so many. You think of those legends, and Dwayne was the last one standing in that, I guess, generation that gave us the beginnings of rock and roll. Unless you can correct me, I believe we've lost all the greats. So this, again, I guess my little tribute. I can't play the full interview that we had with him just about a year ago. So I thought I would play this clip from when Dwayne got into the Steuben County Hall of Fame.
Hi folks, I'm Dwayne Eddy, and I'm here to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for inducting me into the Steuben County Hall of Fame. I've had lots of honors in my career: Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Musicians Hall of Fame, won a Grammy, this, that, and the other. But this is near to my heart because I was born in Corning, as you all know. And the first question I get through the years is, where were you born? And I say Corning, and they look, they think for a minute, and it sounds familiar, and I said, you know, where they make that beautiful glass. Oh, yes, I know, yes, Corning, oh, right. I've got some of that, they'll say sometimes. And so it's been as much of an honor for me to say I'm from Corning as it might be for Corning to say I'm from there. So anyway, I just wanted to personally thank each and every one of you for this great honor, and thank Frank Acomb for bringing it to your attention. And oh, you're down there a while back. That reminds me, I was down there, and that street you have, the main street with all the shops, it's just, thank you, Brett. I won't take up too much of your time. I just wanted to be sure and know that you know that I'm very grateful for this honor, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
I see we had just a little glitch there. I think we're back going, but that's our tribute to Dwayne Eddy this morning. So, passing away at the age of 86, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the Eddy family. So, getting into the other news of the day, obviously the college campuses, which we've talked so much about, and we're going to talk with Joe Sempolinski here in just a little bit. Probably around 7 o'clock, and we're going to pick his brain on it as well. But as we've predicted on this program, it has spread. It is Columbia not squashing it early on has led to this happening on college campuses. As I mentioned, it is basically, it's become a fad. It's become the cool thing to do on college campuses. Columbia, showing again their weakness, has gone remote after the campus arrests. And this is on the final days of the semester. We're not going to go through every single arrest throughout the country because it's been happening. There has been some crackdown. But all academic activities at the Morningside Heights campus, including classes, review sessions, office hours, and final exams, will be fully remote for the remainder of the semester, with some exceptions per the letter. So imagine if you're the person that missed essentially your senior year because of COVID. And then you go to college and you're missing the last few weeks of your college time before you graduate because of a heckler's veto, because of violent anti-Semitic, anti-Israel protesters. Now, I will say about Columbia, and this is going to be very, very, very interesting. The university still plans, keep in mind, plans, just like they had deadlines and just like they had all these kind of watermarks. They plan to host its in-person commencement on May 15th, the university president said in a statement earlier Wednesday. This is what they said. Given the evolving campus situation, we are working hard to provide support and accommodations to our students, particularly those who are residents in our Morningside campus. Again, the safety of our community is our highest priority as we strive to support our students' learning and all the required academic operations. This is a challenging time for us, for all of us, committed to our central mission of teaching and research. But accommodating students will benefit them in these difficult times as they strive to finish the semester, achieving their full potential. Did you see that at UCLA? Because it's really running amok at UCLA. The chancellor there condemned the pro-Israel side of things, calling it an attack. What had happened was there was a clash between pro-Hamas and pro-Israel protesters. So finally, a university, I guess, showing some spine. And who do they attack? What students do they get angry at? You guessed it, the pro-Israel students. UCLA Chancellor Gene Block released a statement after the demonstrations escalated and broke out on campus. Violence erupted when a group of instigators came to forcefully attack the encampment that had been established there to advocate for Palestinian rights. That's a quote from Gene Block, the chancellor. So there were instigators, people that were on campus that were fed up with being scared, with being intimidated, with these encampments spewing anti-Semitism and hate. What did you expect to happen? At some point, people can only get pushed around so much. I'm not saying this was a positive thing. I'm not saying that it should have come to this, but you can understand why it did. And instead of talking about the people that have set up the encampment and what vile things have been going on at these encampments, instead of criticizing them, you criticize the group that had finally had enough. And think about that, where they were there in the encampment that was been established there to advocate for Palestinian rights. Is that what you would call that? However one feels about the encampment, this attack on our students, never mind the attacks on the Jewish students, this attack on our students, faculty, and community members was utterly unacceptable. It has shaken our campus to its core, and adding to other abhorrent incidents that we have witnessed and have circulated on social media over the past several days, further damaged our community's sense of security. The university is gathering information about the attack on the encampment. I want to express my sincere sympathy to those who were injured last night and to all those who have been harmed or have feared for their safety in recent days. No one at this university should have to encounter such violence. This is a dark chapter in our campus's history. We will restore a safe learning environment at UCLA. In New York City, a doctor, and we're jumping around different campuses. Because it gets a little tough to keep each one. We'd have to spend more than 2 hours. But NYCD doctor, a New York City doctor, and a serial anti-Israel protester who was 47 years old, was among the non-students arrested at Columbia. I know that I'm not denying the fact that there are some outside agitators. I'm not. But I think the media and others want, especially the administrations at these universities, want to focus on them and not the students. We're going to talk a lot more about this because coming up, and I know we got to take this all seriously. So when I say lighten the mood, it's not necessarily lighting the mood because we have to realize the importance of this and what this means. Does it continue outside of campuses? Do we start seeing this more in major cities? Do we start seeing it in high schools? What does this mean, this anti-Semitism mean for, how do I word it, for the Democratic Party? For the Democrat Party? Because what we're seeing is article after article saying Biden has real trouble here. Meaning that the numbers are big enough that is no longer the fringe element of the Democrat Party. I know that's what they try to say, the extreme fringe element. You can no longer say that. It goes back to that article that I have quoted now a million times, that the new left is a party that believes Hamas is cool and that swastikas are woke. So we're going to talk more about this. But the reason I say lighten the mood, I'm going to give you another list of demands when we come back. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
I'm Marianne Kurt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Every Saturday, your game is on Fox. Because here is where it happens. Saturday on Fox, Judge swaggered up and went supersonic. True story. Saturday on Fox, Mookie put on a show in New York. You saw that, right? Saturday on Fox, Acuna racked these up on his way to the record. And it was Saturday on Fox when Harper went all Harper. So yeah, Saturday on Fox is where it happens.
It's a season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
Our beautiful view overlooking Market Street as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us. Here's a comment from a viewer. My daughter works at University of Tennessee, and protests has started with a handful of students yesterday. Yeah, there's list after list. University of Buffalo, had some arrests yesterday. 16 people. How about this? Again, I can't stand this term. Pro-Palestinian protesters arrested at Stony Brook. The list is growing, and that's why we said really from the beginning that we have to take this seriously, because it has become, unfortunately, a fad in a way. And I don't think that's a strong enough word, but it's become the cool thing to do. So the elitist students can take their selfies and get their videos and show that they care about the right cause. And unfortunately, the right cause to them is being anti-Israel, anti-American. But as I said, the anti-Israel, this is the UCLA protesters, have made some requests for some donations. Some seem to prepare for mob violence. They're looking for skater helmets, shields, wood for barriers, and elbow and knee pads. That was among some of the much-needed tools requested by the school's Students for Justice in Palestine. And that they prefaced it, but I'm having trouble this morning, by saying it was to sustain its so-called UCLA Palestine Solidarity Encampment. We will not leave. We will remain here until our demands are met. It always goes back to demands. Our demands have to be met, and the demands are normally pretty outrageous. The defensive materials listed as urgent items, again, they were looking for donations, as well as headlamps, airsoft goggles, gas masks, and flashlights with strobes. Yes, this does sound like a peaceful protest, doesn't it? The group also asked for utility gloves with reinforced knuckles of various sizes, and this is why I say we can't take this lightly. They added that they needed pairs made especially for small hands. Okay. The request went on to list rope, zip ties. This is getting frightening. Electric and solar powered generators, as well as EpiPens, inhalers, lotion, and Aquaphor. I don't know what that is. Zip ties, rope. And I'm not saying it's getting scary. It's been scary for a very long time. But again, we're told that they're peaceful pro-Palestinian protests. A thing that I found really quite strange when it came to food. Again, this is their donation list that they are looking for as the anti-Israel UCLA protesters. For food, hot food for lunch, important all in caps. Vegan food. This is the army here. Gluten-free food. Ice. Okay. This in all, or not caps, but no is in caps, underlined and bold. No packaged food. Wow, talk about elitist. No coffee, no bagels, no bananas, no nuts. What? Talk about a weird, this is their demands. And then they have a fill in this form if you're interested in coordinating a meal. What? No sunscreen. They must be good on sunscreen. And they must, maybe they're good on those other issues, or those other items. But why no packaged food? They just want hot food for lunch. Yeah, don't we all? So there, AA, AAA, C, and D batteries. That's a little scary. Now, you may say, well, it's for their flashlights or whatever. I don't know. You start throwing batteries. Okay, so there's their list of demands at UCLA. Oh, have you seen... it's been kind of interesting on this front. There's a fraternity that fought to protect the Stars and Stripes from an anti-Israel mob that was going to try to hoist the Palestinian colors. They're Pi Kappa Phi. Well, someone set up a GoFundMe page for them, and it has already raised $122,000. The idea being they want to throw them a big party. To throw this frat the party they deserve. Quote, the organizers wrote, commie losers across the country have invaded college campuses to make dumb demands of weak university administrators. But amidst the chaos, the screaming, the anti-Semitism, the hatred of faith and flag stood a platoon of American heroes. Armored in vineyard vines and Patagonia, fueled by Zin and White Claws. These triumphant bohemians protected Old Glory from the unwashed Marxist horde, laughing at their shrieks and wails and shielding the Stars and Stripes from Soviet missiles. $122,000. That's gonna be one heck of a party I'd like to go to. What had happened was a group of frat brothers grabbed the American flag to keep it from touching the ground, all while being pelted with debris and taunts from an angry mob from a peaceful pro-Palestinian protest. Old Glory was later raised after the Palestinian flag was taken down, with students chanting USA, and is now protected by a barricade. The fundraising site, These Boys Know, these men of the UNC Chapel Hill Pi Kappa Phi gave the best to America. Now they deserve the best. Help us raise funds to throw this frat the party they deserve, a party worthy of what they did to keep their country proud. Did you see that the University of Tehran, there's a professor there, the University of Tehran, and he says that they'll support these protests and that he believes that these students will support Iran in an American conflict. Well, why would he think differently? I would tend to believe that they would support Iran as well. Professor Fode Izzadi said sooner or later this kind of support for the Zionist regime by the American regime will diminish. It might not stop completely, but its diminishing is important. This is why the demonstrators on U.S. campuses are important. So this is who supports the protests. Iran. We are watching the demonstrations, meaning the Islamic Republic. We are watching the demonstrations and like what we see, but it should not end with this. If not for the Islamic Republic, the case of the Palestinian idea would have been closed years ago. The idea of resistance belongs to Iran, but on the operational level. When it comes to recruiting connections and building networks, the Iranian state has not been involved in a sufficient level. These American students are our people. If tensions between America and Iran rise tomorrow or the day after, these are the people who will have to take to the streets to support Iran. America, and he continued, America is the great Satan and our main enemy, but we have hope in these areas. Quite rich to see the same regime that is fixated on torturing, blinding, executing its own college students. What? I don't even know why I'm reading this propaganda, but to give you an idea. Quite rich to see the same regime that is fixated on torturing, raping, blinding, executing its own college students is applauding the... Oh, I see. I'm sorry. They cut this off. I was like, wait, whoa. Iran expert and foreign desk editor-in-chief Lisa DeFarty said, quite rich to see the same regime that is fixated on torturing, raping, blinding, executing its own college students is applauding the ignorant college students on American campuses. It speaks to their focus on growing their influence outside of Iran. I'm glad they cleared that up. And then the Iran University, Shiraz University in Fars, is offering scholarships to U.S. students expelled over the Gaza war protests. Students and even professors who have been expelled or threatened with expulsion can continue their studies at Shiraz University, and I think that other universities in Shiraz as well as Fars province are also prepared to provide the conditions. Well, let's see how that goes. Take them up on it. Hey, I say go for it. Trump praised the protest yesterday. We'll talk about that in just a moment. We do have to take another short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
New vehicles are in-house and on display with more on the way. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, visit Elm Chevrolet. Search Elm Chevrolet's entire new vehicle inventory at elmchevrolet.com. Together, let's drive.
Put confidence, adventure, and accomplishment firmly in your hands with the Polaris Sportsman lineup. Get the most out of every day, pull off the toughest hauls, and keep charging on.
Ithaca Recreation Sports, Route 13 in Newfield. Get outside and ride.
The best pizza has been baked in ovens made of stone, but you can't put one of those on the countertop in your home. Introducing Paisano, the authentic pizza oven by Granite Stone. Now make the world's most delicious pizza with real stone right in your own home. You simply set it and let it make golden, crispy, extra cheesy stone-baked pies in under 6 minutes. The secret is the dual-controlled heat zones that quickly heat the real ceramic stone up to 800 degrees so you can stone bake just like the pros. Plus, there's no gas, wood, or charcoal needed. Paisano is electric, plug-in, and portable. You can get your Paisano pizza oven for just 4 easy payments of $39.99. And we're going to drop one payment. You get it all for just 3 easy payments of $39.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free.
Call 1-800-597-7208 or order online at buypaisano.com. Call now.
Getting aerial video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
Football League, Saturday at 3 Eastern on Fox.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox. So I have a comment here from a viewer, but first I wanted to mention, because I highlighted it, what President Trump said. New York was under siege last night, referring to the protesters as raging lunatics and Hamas sympathizers. But the police came in, and in exactly 2 hours, everything was over. It was a beautiful thing to watch, New York's finest. You saw them go up in ladders, breaking the windows and getting in, and that's dangerous because you don't know what's on the other side of that window. And they went in, they knocked it out, they were incredible, they did a great job. Okay, so comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. I was just thinking about all these stories relating to the Israel-Hamas protest. Doesn't it seem odd that all the stories about these original protests happen in major metropolitan area universities? I'm sure there are pockets of protests in other areas of our country, but their coverage is only occurring in larger cities. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. It is happening throughout the country. I think a lot of that, if I'm being honest, is the media market. New York City, the media is right there. I don't think the media really wanted to praise the protesters. They wanted to compare it to 1968. They wanted to do that. But these kids and faculty weren't smart enough to realize that they had allies in the media, and they pushed it, and they got violent, they got destructive, they got spewed more anti-Semitism, more hate, and it kind of backfired. But I think to the metropolitan areas, and it's also beginning with Ivy League schools, I think it's because of these elite kids, entitled kids that we saw with that list of demands. I think this was a cool thing for them to do. They believe that they took up the punk rock issue, that they are being shocking, that they're shocking their parents. They're not really shocking anybody, except for if someone was blind to the fact that this is kind of indoctrination was happening on college campuses for so long. But they think that this is really, if they say they support Hamas, they're doing something that no one's done before, and they care the most. Ricky Schlott, who has been speaking out, I believe she attends Columbia. She says, after protest chaos, universities need to teach kids about real free speech, not about misgendering. Wonder why Columbia protests devolved into chaos? Because the students have no idea what free speech is. Hint, tents are not it. Tents are not free speech. It's time for Columbia and every school around the country to roll out a free speech orientation. The lesson plan is simple. Posters, chanting, protesting, good. Heckling, damaging property, camping on the quad, bad. And those tactics can result in suspension, expulsion, or even arrest. They do not seem to know. And you had protesters comparing themselves after that that back and forth at UCLA with pro-Hamas and then the pro-Israel groups clashing. The pro-Hamas group actually claiming that they experienced what it was like to live in Gaza, that they were attacked. Nothing about October 7th, nothing like that, because it's all. And there's another piece that they believe that they are essentially the Middle East, that they are in the same battle. But to Ricky's point here, I don't believe they will teach free speech. I mean, the radicalization has been going on too long. Free speech is not. They can't talk about the rights here in America because, let's face it, the protesters are saying they don't like our system. They want to see the destruction to our system. But Craig McCarthy has a very good point on this. Taxpayers shouldn't pay for the New York Police Department to babysit unruly Columbia students. Columbia University should open its checkbook if school leaders want the NYPD to stay on the Ivy League campus through May 17th and babysit unruly students. A bipartisan group of city politicians fumed Wednesday. Columbia created this mess, and Columbia, not New Yorkers, should pay to clean it up. The 9 council members, led by Queens Republican Joanne Ariola, Minority Leader Joe Borelli, and Queen Democrat Bob Holden, wrote in a scathing letter to university officials. But it's a great point. They're not being paid to babysit. But right now, this will be on the taxpayer's dime. If the university wants cops to assist on campus, the caucus told school officials to contact the NYPD's paid details unit, which specializes in providing security for private places. You certainly can afford it, noting that Columbia's tuition costs more than $68,000 a year and has a $13.6 billion endowments. $13.6 billion in endowments. Right after this, we're going to go out. We're going to do assessment of the campus. Chief of Department Jeff Madry said during a press conference, we're going to make sure we speak with the campus officials, and then we're going to make a determination what kind of resources that we're going to put there. So we'll see if the university ponies up the money. William Bennett, you remember Bill Bennett, kind of a simplistic headline, but campus chaos and anti-Israel rhetoric reveals stark failures of today's higher education. Absolutely. It's something we've been talking about extensively here on the program. What is going on at today's university in terms of campus protests tells you that we have abandoned the single most important function of higher education, and that is higher education. People have forgotten that civilization is not self-executing. It has to be nurtured, protected, and taught. We're going to keep this discussion going, but we've got to take another short break because I don't want to run too late because we do have Joe Sempolinski, former congressman, current candidate for assembly, coming up in just a moment. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking, talking to the people that affect your life, that affect all of our day-to-day lives. This is something you're not going to get anywhere else. We've got a lot to offer. There'll be a lot of news, local, regional, national, really the things that affect you. And I think you'll be glad that you tuned in. So think of it as radio on TV. Frankly Speaking, live, 2 hours long, starting at 6 a.m. on WYDC TV Big Fox. This is History Making. We are back with Frankly Speaking. So back to this piece by William Bennett. He said, given its current state, maybe we don't need higher education. Maybe parents and families don't need to sacrifice everything they have and sell or remortgage the house, scale down in every way possible, take extra jobs, scrimp and save to pay their kids' tuition, and get them through the college years by supporting them. My response, by the way, to the White House press secretary's repeated comments about believing in free speech and peaceful protests is this. Please stop. That's not what we're talking about. And that's what was so frustrating. I don't know if you saw her comments, but she must have said free speech and peaceful protests a dozen times. And that's not what the question is about. We're talking about what's happening on college campuses. The destruction, the violence, the breaking of the rules and laws. That's what we're talking about. But we are seeing rampant anti-Semitism. We're talking about things that are much more dangerous, things that are reminiscent of what went on before and during World War II. Rampant anti-Semitism, which many people said they never again see in their lifetime or permit. Never again? You've heard this statement. Never, ever again? Now, here we are. Why now or in the future would any Jewish student want to go to these college campuses? Why would they choose them? Why would they apply to these colleges as high school seniors and have their parents write huge checks to these schools given what's going on? And there is talk in some corners that now trustee retreats, alumni gatherings, and the like are going to be very lightly attended at some of these schools. People don't want to go back to their old alma mater. Yeah, and as I've mentioned, if you're an organization, a business, a company, a corporation, and you see that resume come across your desk that says Columbia class of 2024, are you going to bother to look into their background to see if they were one of the protesters or not? Or are you just going to say next? There are other schools that are just as good that maybe don't have the aura that Columbia once did, but now that aura has turned to stigma of going to Columbia. And after all that money, and that's very unfortunate, another way the students not involved in this protest are getting the short end of the stick. Maybe right now graduation is scheduled, but we'll see. But they're in remote learning. They don't feel safe on campus, and now their degree has been diminished. But we'll finish up. After COVID, many students realized they could live without a college education. Now, after this big crack in the armor of higher education, it would not surprise me if we see many more students, more families, more parents realizing that as well. The higher education may not be the be-all and end-all when you see these elitist students and faculty believing in their bubble that they shouldn't be punished, they shouldn't be reprimanded. They actually have a list of demands of food, what they want, because they're spoiled. I mean, I'm not trying to sound too cute by half, but that's what it has become. And why wouldn't they be? They've had no repercussions. And this was a piece I was telling you about with Rich Lowry. Columbia's Hamas kids think the Middle East revolves around their school. This is the childishly self-dramatizing conceit that's been driving the pro-Hamas protests at Columbia University, with similar ideas playing into protests elsewhere. Oh, I'm running. I hope I... No. Oh, I'm doing good. Okay. I got really concerned there that I was running very late. It allows students living privileged lives at elite universities to believe that they are on the front lines of fighting so-called genocide. And what happens at their schools, and to them, is exciting, dangerous. This is not to say that what's happening at Columbia isn't important to Columbia in terms of who's really in charge and whether the rules apply to pro-Hamas protesters or not. But that doesn't match the world historical significance that the students want to attribute to their sloganeering and sleepovers. And you get the idea, but it's Rich Lowry. Of course, a larger point is that people who won't condemn a terror group or the horrific attack carried out on October 7th would never demand that Hamas release its hostages, who single out for condemnation a democratic society beset by profoundly illiberal forces all around it, are presuming to lecture everyone else about complicity. Yes, supporting genocide in the name of anti-genocide. To the extent that they really are engaged in a great moral struggle, they're on the wrong side. That's Rich Lowry. Time for another short break. Stay with us. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Hi, I'm Adam.
And I'm Aubrey.
For over 40 years, the Blaze Alexander family dealerships have been making car buying easy, affordable, with respect for your time.
And we do that by treating all of our customers like family.
By making sure you get the lowest rates, biggest discounts, and most for your trade.
By providing clean, comfortable, and convenient service.
By offering the largest selection of new and pre-owned vehicles every day. Visit a Blaze Alexander family dealership,
where we're taking the deals
the other guys won't.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
sharing the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. As to our conversation yesterday, it's all about the media trying to suggest it's Republicans highlighting this chaos or using against Biden. Biden left without easy solution as campus protests heat up. And they even pointed down to what really matters, right? Challenge to turning out young voters. So you can no longer say, in my opinion, that this is the fringe, that this is the extremist part of the Democrat Party. I think this is now, because if you look at the numbers of why they're scared of what this could mean for Biden, what else can you conclude? If protests are still raging by the fall, Biden could well become the first Democratic president since the Vietnam era not welcome to visit college campuses, which has been a long, critical piece of turnout efforts for younger voters. You get the idea. I mean, I don't have to go through all that. It's all about the votes at the end of the day. That's why you're going to keep seeing, and there's a piece today that says the ceasefire is make or break for Biden. But this goes back into, and I'm going to talk about this with Joe Sempolinski as well. But this goes back. Oh, there's the congressman right now. But Columbia University Hamilton Hall takeover gives the GOP political ammunition. So the conversation that we were having yesterday about this is all just drummed up by the Republicans to make Biden look bad. And we're going to talk about that with the former congressman in just a moment. Let's take our break, and then we'll start the second hour of Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
I'm Marion Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
The team competition is over.
Fox Thursday.
One Japanese bento box.
It's every chef.
How'd you do a sushi roll with no rice?
I don't know.
For themselves.
One more thing.
3 people going into elimination. This is insane.
An all-new Next Level Chef. Then on an all-new Farmer Wants a Wife. Some say goodbye.
I'm gonna miss you.
And some say hi to family.
How soon do you feel like you guys are ready to have kids?
Oh my God.
Can I tell you who my favorite is?
Who?
Tonight.
Sheldon and Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the Battle of Twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right.
And welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. And in that studio, during the Steuben Senior Services Fund interview, we have a new sponsor, Joe.
Nice.
We have Joe Sempolinski. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
I like it. I like the tags on things. This is good.
I know. Look at that.
It's like a NASCAR driver.
I know. Like a NASCAR.
Like a suit.
Yeah. So we got a couple comments.
Congratulations on the sponsors.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So first one is, good morning, Frank. Sad news about Dwayne Eddy's passing. Yes, if you're just joining us, Dwayne Eddy passed away 2 days ago on his, about a week after his 86th birthday. Until you were instrumental in showcasing his talents and ties to Corning, I didn't know of him. Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I'm sure you enjoyed your friendship and all the effort you put into keeping his legacy alive and known. Well, thank you. That's very kind. And I didn't do this on purpose, Joe, but you know, you're a fan favorite. I've told you that before.
I appreciate that.
We get so many comments and you know, kissy face emojis. It just it gets a little too much. It's like the
Man
Beatles.
of the people.
It's like the Beatles showed up.
Yeah.
So I saved a good one for myself to start off.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Frank. Hi. How do you get your show to more areas in New York State and not just the Twin Tiers? Maybe even across the full country. Your common sense approach to these topics is refreshing to hear on the TV. I like how you listen to both sides, but take it back to what is really going on outside of the rhetoric. What do you think of that, Joe?
Your mom's very eloquent.
I knew you were going to say. I set you up.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, I do think we have, because obviously we're going to talk about the anti-Israel protests.
Sure.
There's a comment, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase what one of the viewers said. There's so many things going on. You've got the protests. Yeah. You've got this Civil War movie coming out. I don't know if you've seen anything about that.
I have seen advertising. I haven't seen it
right.
or seen details, but I know it exists. Yeah.
Basically what they're saying is, how do we fight as conservatives this overwhelming barrage? Because we can't just sit back. It just seems like they're fanning the flames of this division, to kind of paraphrase.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of on cue, right?
Yeah. This time of year,
the summer of a presidential election year, you get this sort of stuff. However, I saw it was on, what do we call it now? Twitter, X, whatever. It was a couple liberals discussing, and I thought this struck me as interesting. And there's one. The sort of more ideological, progressive liberal was saying, "Oh, this is just like 1968 in Vietnam," and there's sort of this, fantasy that they're, like these movements in the past, and we're going to change the world or whatever. And then the other liberal says, "Oh, didn't Nixon win in 1968?"
And like a dominant win?
Yes, and also. Bear in mind, after those protests, the Republicans won 5 of the next 6 presidential elections.
Yeah.
So it was the beginning of a sea change, actually, to the right in American politics, because the longer this goes on, and the Democrats that are smart know this, which is sort of shown by that division between sort of the pragmatic person and the ideological person, your average American citizen, maybe someone that's not heavily Republican, not heavily Democrat. They probably vote in presidential elections, don't vote any other time. They're sitting watching going, this stuff's bonkers.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, the president wants to forgive all their student loans.
Yeah, we're paying for this.
Yeah, that is the most
ham-handed. And the faculty, too.
And the faculty.
We can't downplay that.
They're nuts. And then I've seen people, members of Congress, AOC, Jamal Bowman, saying, "Oh, they're just kids. Why are the cops attacking these kids?" They're not kids.
No.
Every one of them is on college campus, so they're at least 18 years old.
Right.
A lot of them are graduate students or faculty members or just rabble-rousers who have nothing to do with the campus or just showing up. So the idea that you're going to treat them with that, they're kids, you can't go after them.
It sounds like they're storming elementary school.
That's right. And free speech is speech. When I get a bunch of my folks and we go to a public square and we say, "I'm mad," fine. Yeah. That's very different from taking over buildings.
Yeah. Think about the Tea Party.
Right.
And remember how they covered the Tea Party, Joe?
Right.
You would have thought it was the end of the world, a revolution. In this case, it's peace, and this is a pet peeve of mine, pro-Palestinian peaceful protests. I think you got to get away from the pro-Palestinian.
There's a lot of folks who are saying things well beyond, "I'm concerned about civilian casualties in Gaza."
Yeah.
They're saying things that are really anti-Semitic or aggressively advocating violence.
And how do the administrators not protect the Jewish students? They basically threw them onto the bus and said, "We're only focused on these students."
Yeah, I've seen things again, I'm not on campus in Columbia or on campus at USC or UCLA or Yale or wherever. But what I have seen online is things like we're just taking over zones of the campus and saying, unless you're one of us, you can't go through. If you're Jewish, you can't go through. These things. These are, for instance, in the sense of Columbia, some of these other ones are public institutions. Columbia's private property. You can't just take over buildings. And there are rules against taking over buildings even in public settings, too.
In general, yes.
I saw another thing, and I want to be clear, this is not my original framing. I saw it on social media. But I saw one person say, make sure I get it right, this is what liberals say, that if it's speech from the right, it's violence.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we heard that.
And
speech
however,
is
violence from the left is speech.
It's free speech, yes.
And it's protected by
That's a great point.
Yeah, that really struck home with me that, there's this double standard that if I say something from the right that offends somebody from the left, they react as if they've been violently attacked.
Even
they
if
want
you
that
said it
speech shut down.
accidental. Even if it was accidental. You didn't mean to be.
They want that speech shut down. They want the person canceled. They want the person fired from their job, whatever. And if you literally take over buildings, then suddenly you have members of Congress saying, hey, they're kids, come on. It's a ridiculous double standard. Now, I think if you want to go to the politics side of it, as I mentioned, to your average person who's a swing voter in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, which are the 3 closest swing states, they're going, whoa, these people are crazy, and Biden supports them because he wants to pay their student loans, because he won't come out and denounce them.
He hasn't said, isn't it crazy? He's made no statement except for when he did the both sides.
He's going to make a speech about anti-Semitism. Well, this is 2024. You could, and as President Trump shows us, you can send out your opinion on social media
at any time
like that. There's no reason to wait.
And they're not going to break into the television to have him give a speech about what's happening across the country right now?
So I think he may be so tone deaf that he's worried about losing Michigan.
I think so.
Where he's going to worry about losing Michigan and lose 4 other states where your average citizen goes, enough is enough. And if you're going to tolerate this kind of behavior, which is property destruction, which is trespass, which is anti-Semitism, which is, violence and law breaking that is occurring, you aren't fit to lead. And you have to come out very strongly and say, if you can't do this kind of stuff, I don't care if you are a student on that campus, there are rules, you can't do it. And I've been very disappointed in the university leadership.
Oh my goodness.
The places that have nipped this in the bud right out of the gate. Florida's been great. Both the governor of Florida and the University of Florida and the other universities in Florida, they've said, no, we don't
babysit here.
And when you let it go, suddenly you end up with these encampments that all have the same tents. Who's got the tent contract on the protest?
Someone texted that yesterday on the show. I didn't really think about it, but you're right. They all look very
green
similar.
Sort of tan.
Someone's
tent.
making a fortune. Big tent
maybe behind all of this.
Do you think it's funny? I mean, none of this is funny, but how the media is so predictable that the headlines now read, Republicans use this to pounce on Biden. Republicans, as if we're making, it goes back to like inflation. We're making up the fact that we're paying too much for groceries.
Oh, no. They pointed out reality.
Exactly.
That's what they can't.
They're so predictable.
You're absolutely right. They're trying to carry water for the president and say, oh, no, that you don't believe. That's been the theme for the Democrats for the last 3, 4, 5 years is you don't believe what you really see. I'm paying more at the pump. No, you don't understand.
Have you
I'm
seen
paying
the
more
numbers?
for a hamburger. No, you don't understand economics. Oh, these people are violent. No, you don't understand. And they'll come up with some graph or something and asking people to literally disbelieve their own lying eyes.
Yeah.
And it's so condescending, so insulting. We've talked about it on this program before. And in my opinion, it's just not a winning political strategy because people are not stupid. People know what they're paying for things. People know when they see immigration situation, they can see it now in their own home areas. When they're
public safety, God forbid you've been affected by someone.
Someone's a victim of a crime. Is that one's a big one at the state level in New York. That it's just some narrative from the right wing media that there's a crime spike or something. So people are not stupid. People will vote based on what they see and what they feel, and what they see, what they feel is what is the reality around them. And how these national and state policies are impacting their day-to-day lives. They're going to vote that way. And every day that goes by, it looks more and more like Donald Trump's going to be the next president of the United States.
Right. Do you think, Joe, we used to talk about, and the media talked about, the kind of the anti-Semitism in the Democrat Party was the fringe element, that it was the extremists. But now with every article talking about how this could really cost Joe Biden, as they call him, Genocide Joe, it could cost Joe the election, it's starting to look like those numbers aren't just fringe elements anymore.
Yeah, I saw a tape, I think it was Alabama, where you had the protesters were chanting the not as nice version of Let's Go Brandon.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And the counter protesters who in Alabama are like Republicans, they're chanting the same thing. So Biden is unifying America. But no, I think when something is 2% or 3% of your party, it's a fringe element. It doesn't have to get to be a majority to where it affects people's decision making. And I don't know what the percentage of folks that are pro-Hamas or anti-Semitic is in the Democratic Party, but it's reaching a point where it's affecting the politics of America.
Right.
Where, I got to be careful about what's happening in Michigan. And, that's a commentary on how the demographics of Michigan have changed.
Oh, yes.
That's a commentary on how Biden is pulled around by his left wing.
Yeah.
And when he was elected on a mandate to just be a moderate and be normal.
And to unify,
ironically. To unify, right?
Ironically.
And instead, he's governed as a leftist. And apparently not left enough for some people. But it shows that this is not an element of the Democratic coalition that he can just ignore.
Right.
And what is troubling for him is I've seen polling where you say, all right, do you support Israel or Hamas in the war? And of course, it's overwhelmingly Israel. Now, the older the voter is, the more likely they are to support Israel.
Sure.
But even if you get to the youngest cohort of voters, it's still like 57% pro-Israel. But the problem is that's across the board. If you get to young voters that are Democrats, those folks have lost their mind.
I know.
And he needs them to get out to vote. To keep his enthusiasm up, keep his turnout up, so he'd be competitive in a general election. So he's in a political pickle.
There was a great piece, and I keep mentioning on the show, so people are probably sick of it. But the headline of the piece was the new left thinks Hamas is cool and that swastikas are woke. When did the young people? It's almost like I don't want to use fad because it downplays it, but it's now the cool thing to do to go in that direction. Get your selfie of you wearing your mask and pelting people with rocks, and you're now the most caring person. That's the definition.
Yeah, these things is whiplash.
Yeah.
As far as apparently, 2-3 years ago, you would call somebody on the right. They were calling Trump supporters Nazis. Or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Well, they're the ones running around advocating for the destruction of the state of Israel.
Right.
So you want to start throwing around those type of labels on people.
Yeah.
So I hope, and I don't know if this is true.
Yeah.
I hope a lot of it is these are impressionable kids who are driven along by some sort of groupthink on a college campus, and as they grow up, they wake up. I hope that's the case.
Right.
I am increasingly doubting it.
And how do they get out of it?
Right.
What I mean is, once you have those pictures out there, we've talked about this on the program. If you're in charge of a company and you get a resume that says, I graduated from Columbia 2024, are you going to go through the headache of looking into their past or just throw it off?
Again, I've been following this all on social media.
I know.
But I saw the bus of people that they pulled out of that hall that they'd taken over because the police came in, arrested them, took them out. And as they were taken away, I saw one comment on it was, imagine having $200,000 in debt, a felony conviction, and no degree. Because that's the position some of these kids are putting themselves in.
Well, and you look at the one, I mean, it's so unfair because you have these people, like the one girl that was demanding food.
Oh, yes.
And her degree was in Marxist, poetry or something.
Yes.
You weren't looking for a job after this anyway. This is what you want to do with your career.
This is her life. Yeah, she's this progressive activist. I saw her resume. Yeah, it's like Marxist poetry of the 19th century or something.
Talk about a niche market.
And this is one of my college roommates. Just to be clear, when I say I saw social media, it means I didn't write it. So I don't want to take credit for things I didn't write. My college roommate said he saw on social media comment on her saying that lady just killed student loan because if she's going to be the face of this is what you're paying for when you relieve student loans, that somebody who went and got a doctorate in Marxist poetry from the 1800s, that's not going to play in Altoona, PA, or Green Bay, Wisconsin, or those sort of places.
What a niche market. We got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. More with Joe Sompolinski after this.
Wow. You found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay.
You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup. So you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Attention high school students, college transfer students, or anyone looking to further their education. This is the event for you at the Elmira Elks on May the 8th. There will be a free college fair with free parking. Come and talk to 2- and 4-year college representatives, in and out-of-state schools, public and private schools, technical schools, United States Armed Service recruiters, local police and fire departments recruiting new cadets. This only happens once a year, May the 8th at the Elmira Elks College Fair from 6 to 8 p.m.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
Order call 1-800-970-9843. That's 1-800-970-9843, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking, talking to the people that affect your life, that affect all of our day-to-day lives. This is something you're not going to get anywhere else. We've got a lot to offer. There'll be a lot of news, local, regional, national, really the things that affect you. And I think you'll be glad that you tuned in. So think of it as radio on TV. Frankly Speaking, live, 2 hours long, starting at 6 a.m. on WYDC TV Big Fox. This is our beautiful view overlooking Market Street as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. And this is the Steuben Senior Services Fund interview with Joe Sempolinski. Joe, I know we're not going to just focus on the anti-Israel protests, but there's so much going on, and we've got a lot of comments from viewers. So let's go through them. America used to be called the melting pot of the world. It's starting to look more like oil and water. Personally, I'm pro-America, and you do you and I'll do me. I wish everybody said that.
I think it's more a comment than a question, but I appreciate it and I concur.
Yes.
And I wish there was more things that did unify us as a cohesive country. And sadly, there are increasingly more things that divide us, and more of us living in sort of almost 2 different realities. Yeah. And you're seeing that played out on these college campuses. So I do wish we could find some more things that we could all agree on.
I know Mr. Sempolinski doesn't have the answer, but why does the government feel that they have to be the ones to forgive student loans? Isn't it incumbent upon these institutions of higher learning to ensure these students attain gainful employment in order to repay the loans these institutions accepted? And when these students do not attain employment, isn't it the fault of these institutions of higher learning? Well, that's why they have degrees like Marxist poetry.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a very good point from the viewer, where it's become the situation where the more you increase the loans, the more the price point goes up, because the institution knows that that's what the market will now bear, because the loans exist. So if you increase the loans 10%, well, I'm just going to increase my price 10%. Exactly. I know you can pay it because you got the loan.
It's a cash cow.
So I'm going to chase those loans. And so there is no accountability to the institution to say, all right, you have to provide a service that is actually going to be beneficial to people. I think there should be that type of accountability. And it is frustrating. I'm very much against the government forgiving student loans for 2 major reasons. The main reason is you need to legislate that stuff. You can't just do it willy-nilly. The Supreme Court has said you can't do it willy-nilly. Nancy Pelosi several years ago, she's changed her tune now. She said you can't do it willy-nilly. We have, whether you like a policy or not, doesn't mean if you're the president you can just do it. you are not a policy maker as the president. You are a policy executor and a policy suggester. You're not a policy creator. The policy creator is the Congress. The House and the Senate make policy. So if you can't get something through the House and Senate, you may think it's peachy keen as the president, but you can't run and do it, because if you do that, that's called tyranny. That's called a dictatorship, when the executive just does whatever they want. So that's one big problem. The second is the substance of the policy, which is, well, what about the guy that paid off his loans? They're not going to get anything.
Right.
What about the person that didn't go to college because they thought the loans would be imprudent?
Right.
Well, they've not gone to college. You can't run back time to give them what they want.
Or the person that saved up for their kid, they didn't go to college. They want to give their kid that money. Why not just sit on it?
It's very unfair to just pick this group of people. Well, what about somebody who's got a mortgage?
Yeah.
What about somebody who's got credit card debt? Are we just going to forgive everybody's debt? No. And I've seen has really driven me nuts. And this is coming from the president himself. Right. This is not something that's just people online saying. Comparing the PPP loans to student loans. See, what will happen is a Republican member of Congress will criticize the student loan forgiveness, and then the president will say, well, you had, for your business, these PPP loans. Completely different things.
The government didn't force you to go to college.
Right, exactly. There's two major differences. The government shut down the world.
Yeah.
And then the PPP loan program was put in place. Again, as you said correctly, the government didn't force you to go to college. And second, when you signed off on the student loan, you said you're going to pay it back.
Yeah.
When someone signed off on a PPP loan, the terms of the loan when it was taken, and a lot of people would not have taken the loan if this was not the terms, was if you keep it's called PPP, Payroll Protection Program. If you keep the people that work for you on your payroll, the loan is automatically forgiven. Right. It was baked into the program at the beginning because it was designed to keep people employed during the shutdown. So you wouldn't have taken the money if you thought you had to pay it back. You've taken the money because you're intending to keep your people employed so they can feed their kids. And the world continues to move. Sorry,
that's all right.
Pop the camera.
It actually worked better. I mean, better.
Now I got a better angle. And then the president continues to conflate those two things. Again, thinking we're all stupid, thinking we didn't remember how those programs worked. Right. And it's so disingenuous and so irresponsible and just, again, condescending from the president.
And it's very frustrating that the party that keeps saying that Trump's a threat to democracy, and yet Biden loves to brag that he's ignoring the Supreme Court on this.
Right. Oh, the Supreme Court said, well, I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it anyway.
Well, wait a minute. That's not how the system works.
I said don't.
That's right. The president's the most powerful man in the world.
Yeah.
But his power is limited. He is not a dictator. Again, he executes policy and he suggests policy. He does not create policy. The policy of America comes from the Congress, not from the president.
Going back to the anti-Israel protests, and again, not to make light of it, I love the list of demands that they always make. I would say that their list of demands is tougher to meet than your rider to come on the show.
What's my rider to come on the show? I need a seat. I need a chair. I don't want to stand.
No, but I mean, the list of demands, they're demanding food. They're demanding, and UCLA, they're asking for donations of what would only be seen as violent, like helmets, strobe lights, stuff that would lead to ultimate violence.
Well, we were talking about the graduate student with Marxist poetry, if you recall, with that press conference. Well, she's holding a press conference, first of all.
Yeah. So that's a dead giveaway.
That's the first thing. We're like, or maybe you're just, playing it revolutionary. But the reporter sort of asked, well, wait a minute. You're saying you're these revolutionaries. Yeah. You violently took over buildings that you don't belong to, private property, refused to leave, and now you want it to be, catered?
Yeah.
You want to allow Uber Eats to drop off stuff?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's not how this works.
No.
You can't break all the rules and then demand the other side follow all the rules.
Sure.
And it sort of shows these are kids that don't, and I said it too, they're not kids. I want to be, I've made the same mistake.
College should be teaching them to adults,
They are adults who are responsible for their actions, who have the mentality of children.
Yeah.
That's a better way to phrase it, because I just made the same mistake
they're
that
entitled.
Jamal Bowman did. Yeah. They have this entitlement mentality that I get to have all of my demands met, but you don't get a chance to inflict the rules upon me. I get to have no consequences for my actions. And so they are acting like children, even though they're not children.
No, when you think about their age group, was fighting in World War II and was the greatest generation.
Right.
So would you consider that age group to be children? No,
Right.
of course not.
Of course not.
So there's
Right.
but
their mentality is all messed up.
the audacity of her too, when she said, we need these, this food and all that, because doesn't the school care about our safety? Well, you don't care about the safety of the Jewish students on campus, and you made that clear through the intimidation. You don't care about the people that want to have a graduation, because think about that. They didn't have a graduation because of COVID in high school. Right. They get to college. They don't want to be a part of this protest, and now you've got campuses shutting down their
was
in-person
it
graduation.
USC said we're just not going to hold an in-person graduation? That's, a ton of that's an enormous school and an enormous segment of the student population in California. So these folks are they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Yes,
and
literally,
they want to have their violent protest and eat cake too. And it is again, it's the average person who's just going to work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and trying to live their life and follow the rules. It is infuriating.
Yes.
To see some of the most privileged people in the world, Ivy League students,
paying $80,000 a year,
that are making these demands after insane behavior.
Yes,
and I think it's going to have electoral consequences. And the longer this drags on, the more severe those electoral consequences are going to be for the Democratic Party.
One more comment before we go to break, and I want to apologize because we have so many great questions coming in, as always, when Joe's our guest, so we may not be able to get to all of them, but I thought this was a good one. Your thoughts, and mine, which is nice, on Mayor Adams' remarks on his love of America suddenly. Just curious, did he not know that defunding the police, what that would mean? Did he not know that the open door to unknown illegal newcomers would create chaos? A little too late and disingenuous, in my opinion. So more of a comment, but I agree.
Yeah, so Adams is an interesting person.
Yeah.
Because, certainly he has catered to the left. He is also a former police captain.
I know.
So every so often he uncorks something that sounds really conservative, and you're like, "Oh, where did that come from?" And the last couple of days was one of those where he was sending in the cops to clear this out, and you had all this pushback from the people to his left. But to the point that the viewer is making, you have these mainline Democrats, sort of establishment Democrats or less crazy Democrats or whatever. Maybe it's Adams, maybe it's somebody else. And they'll say something, that sounds sane, like, "Oh, and I don't like this." Well, then why do you keep catering to that?
Right, exactly.
Why do you keep signing up to be on the same team with that? And it sort of begs that question. And so, Adams, for a New York City Democrat, that's a big four, right, is a little bit more law and order because of his background. But he's all along, you talk about he complains about the situation with migrants, but he had no problem with New York City becoming a sanctuary city. So it's this sort of disjointed cognitive dissonance that they can't sort of realize, well, all these things I'm complaining about, that now these problems I have to deal with as mayor or whatever position I have, my allies who I supported are the ones that are creating this problem, and I can't quite put that together.
Well, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
My practice is focused and centered around St. James Hospital in Hornell. We see a lot of joint pain from hips, shoulders, and knees, whether you're a weekend warrior or even a 80 to 90-year-old who just wants to stay active and keep walking a couple blocks in their neighborhood. I want to spend the time to connect, to really hear you and understand why you've come to visit me to seek treatment. It drives me to be the best physician I can be so that you can go back and do the things that you want to do in life.
Bathroom of
Your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie-cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need. It's never been easier or more affordable than right now to get the bathroom of your dreams. We have the best monthly programs in the industry with payments as low as $99 per month or no payments, no interest for 18 months with approved credit. The hardest part of your new bathroom is gutting and building the tub and shower. If your bathing area is old, there could be damage behind the walls and possible mold and mildew, which can be a serious safety issue. At BCI, we don't cover a problem, we fix it. Call now to get a never clean glass treated door with the no-track system at half off for the first 50 callers. Factory trained, certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military. Call 800-704-1798. That's 800-704-1798.
Football League, Saturday at 3 Eastern on Fox.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and this is the Stu Benz Senior Services Fund section of our program. We're being joined by Joe Sempolinski. Joe, we got a comment from a viewer. If the Democrats would stop bribing for votes and fight to keep the support they still have, they'd be further ahead. They should get popular, more moderate quality candidates to run. They want to shove fringe unpopular ideas down our throat all the time.
I couldn't agree more.
Yep.
I couldn't agree more. I think that the president has made a very poor tactical choice in his campaign, which is to appeal. He feels like, I got to appeal to my fringe base to get these folks amped up and out to vote, and I got to, defend these sort of wacky policies, as opposed to just be normal, and then normal people will vote maybe for you.
Right.
And so I couldn't agree more with the viewer.
One other thing I said, we're going to move on from the anti-Israel protest, but if we look at, I know I talked about this with you last time, isn't it fascinating how history repeats itself, that the Democratic National Convention is going to be in Chicago?
Yeah.
There's something
what
weird
Frank
about
is
that.
referring to, for those who are students of history or not students of history, is in 1968, the Democratic National Convention was in Chicago. And, of course, there was enormous amounts of anti-Vietnam protests that were going on. And the Democratic Convention was nominated, it was Hubert Humphrey, right?
Yeah,
was the
I think so.
Democratic nominee. And he was sort of this mainline, continuing the Johnson policies Democrat, and the far left didn't like it. So you had literally a split screen on the TV of speakers at the Democratic National Convention
and riots in
the
the street.
Chicago police just beating the crud out of protesters.
Mayor Daley on that one.
Mayor Daley was cracking down. And that was not the look that the Democratic National Committee wanted, obviously, and it sort of showed the division within the Democratic Party. And, of course, Richard Nixon was elected president that year. So it is, they're
very reminiscent.
History.
Yeah. And I don't think, I don't like how the media tries to compare these protests to even anti-Vietnam protests or civil rights. I know they've been trying to do that. You can't have people screaming that they're for more October 7ths and pro-Hamas and attacking, asking for the eradication of Jews and Israel. That's not the same.
That is not the
But
same.
there's something about the Democrats, and I think it's what they're taught in schools, indoctrination, that war protests in the 60s were the greatest thing. That if you're a journalist major and you're Woodward Bernstein, you can bring down a sitting Republican president, you are on the Mount Rushmore. Right. There's that weird, and I don't get it because they're all pretty much aged out, but there's that nostalgia factor for that.
There's a nostalgia for that, and also there's sort of this uncritical acceptance that whoever appears to be the underdog is the good guy.
Right. Yes, that's a good point.
Right, and they say, well, Israel's this prosperous society, and the Palestinians, they look like they're the underdog, so they assume incorrectly that their terrorist wing Hamas must be somehow the good guy, and that is that is such an uncritical way of looking at the world.
Yeah.
That you have
Simplistic
this sort of
isn't-
gut
yeah.
reaction to who looks like what you think should be the side you should be on,
Yeah.
as opposed to sitting down and thinking about each particular situation. And guess what? The world is full of shades of gray, and there aren't a lot of people that are 100% good guys or 100% bad guys, because the world's a pretty flawed place.
Yeah.
And again, you have these folks that I think you're right are brought up by the descendants of the folks that are protesting in previous iterations, and they want to be like them, and so they're looking for a cause, and when they find something that sort of looks like that cause, they latch onto it without a lot of critical thinking.
Did you ever imagine you'd see a time where it's cooler to be out protesting and screaming at the top of your lungs all day, intense, disgusting, no hygiene, than it would be to go to like a frat party?
Yeah, well, did you see these frat guys at the one
I was
campus?
talking about $122,000 they've
It
raised.
was over 200,000 this morning.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah,
Okay,
it was
late
like
news.
211 or something.
That's gonna be a party.
And they were protecting the flag that was going to be pulled down, and it sort of shows. Again, your average Nixon. We'll go back to the 1968 election. Nixon referred to his supporters as the silent majority.
Right.
And I think the silent majority still exists, and it still is the majority. And it's your average person that just wants to follow the rules, go about their everyday life, and they see what's going on. They're cognizant of current events. They're not maybe super political.
Right.
And when they see things go completely awry, they go, "Ooh, wait a minute, there needs to be a correction." And that's how this 1968, if you use that as a comparison point, which I agree, it's not a perfect comparison point.
Right.
But if you talk about mass protests, and then there's this snapback to a more conservative electorate, that silent majority also still exists, and you see it in things like this random GoFundMe for these dudes.
I know. They compared him to the
get almost
Iwo Jima.
$250,000.
Have you seen the memes?
Yeah,
comparing to
I've
Iwo
seen
Jima?
the bro memes.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move along here. So, is there anything, and I'm not a fan of this, is there anything to Marjorie Taylor Greene's push against Mike Johnson, do you think?
I would not remove Mr. Johnson. I like Mike Johnson. As a human being, I like Mike Johnson.
In May, by the way, before in an election year?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You're
that's
getting
great.
You're talking about this practical politics.
Yeah.
It gets really tough.
And he is a good guy. I'm sorry.
And have I agreed with every decision he's made? No. I don't know of any politician that I agree with every decision they make.
No.
I don't know of any person I agree with every decision they make, including my family. There's nobody that you agree with all the time. But is that the best thing to advance conservative policy? Is that the best thing to get Republicans elected? I would say certainly not at this time. And if you disagree with Mr. Johnson, then feel free come the beginning of the next Congress to vote for somebody else for leader. These are renewable positions. Every 2 years you have to vote for who the leader of the conference is, whether you're in the majority or the minority. And so that would be the time to handle it. And that's what I felt about Kevin McCarthy as well, where there's things Kevin did that I didn't agree with all the time. But, a member of Congress is elected to a fixed 2-year term, the actual underlying members of Congress. I think it is better to operate the same way with the leadership, where you have that evaluation every 2 years and you let the 2 years play out. Because if you're just going to pull the ripcord all the time, as soon as somebody does something you disagree with, you're not going to be able to have anybody lead. So I respectfully disagree with those who decided to vacate Mr. McCarthy's speakership, and I respectfully disagree with those who want to vacate Mr. Johnson's speakership. And you notice they're not the same people.
No.
The two that are really pushing to get rid of Johnson are Green and Massey.
Yeah.
They were some of McCarthy's biggest supporters. So you have to ask yourself, how much does that dynamic play in? And then the 8 that pushed to remove McCarthy, none of them are signed on to remove Johnson. So some of this is also internal dynamics of the Republican conference, which we do not need. And that's my understanding, is that is President Trump's position. From what I understand, obviously I haven't talked to him about it.
Not lately.
But he wants to have a unified Republican Party as best as he can going into the general election. He just met with Governor DeSantis. Yeah.
Sounded like a great meeting, too.
By all reports, there's been nothing negative coming out since then. So, and I think either one of them would say if there was something negative coming out. So in the early summer, late spring, going into a general election, what you're trying to do, especially when the nominee is selected so early, is build unity. And
this is not doing it.
That doesn't accomplish that. Just like some of these things, and Biden's in the same position. He's trying to build unity, and that's going even worse.
Yes,
you know, so
different levels.
But that is the season we are in right now. Is the unifying going into the general election season, and things that distract from that. Again, you may disagree with something that Mr. Johnson brought to the floor. You may disagree with the vote Mr. Johnson took. That's your prerogative. Right. But the way to handle that is on the regularly scheduled leadership election cycle, not this willy-nilly removal of leadership.
We got to take another short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Attention high school students, college transfer students, or anyone looking to further their education. This is the event for you at the Elmira Elks on May the 8th. There will be a free college fair with free parking. Come and talk to 2- and 4-year college representatives, in and out-of-state schools, public and private schools, technical schools, United States Armed Service recruiters, local police and fire departments recruiting new cadets. This only happens once a year, May the 8th, at the Elmira Elks College Fair from 6 to 8 p.m.
Rated the best hearing aids of 2023 by Forbes, the Audien Atom 2 series offers superior sound quality and functionality for a fraction of the price. For just $189 a pair, the Atom 2 features 4 different hearing modes for all types of hearing loss. It packs crystal clear sound, a nearly invisible design, and is even rechargeable.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids. They're so comfortable, I forget I'm wearing them. And the sound is amazing.
The Atom Pro 2 is our smallest hearing aid yet, featuring advanced background noise cancellation, and is the world's first hearing aid with built-in UV cleaning that kills 99% of bacteria.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed without seeing a doctor or having a hearing test.
Join over 500,000 happy customers today and get the hearing you deserve.
Call 1-800-434-9816 or go to audienhearing.com to get your pair of Audien hearing aids starting at just $189.
Getting aerial video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
Every Saturday, your game is on Fox. Because here is where it happens. Saturday on Fox, Judge swaggered up and went supersonic. True story. Saturday on Fox, Mookie put on a show in New York. You saw that, right? Saturday on Fox, Acuna racked these up on his way to the record. And it was Saturday on Fox when Harper went all Harper. So yeah, Saturday on Fox.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. And this is the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program as we are being joined by Joe Sempolinski. Joe, I think this was a brilliant idea from RFK Jr. Hey, Biden, why don't you just drop out and make me the guy?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the argument I would make, that all my opponents should drop out.
Yeah,
you know, I think
to unify
every candidate ever
has asked that question.
Would like that. I'm sure, you know, Donald Trump would like both Biden and RFK Jr. to drop out.
That's funny.
But I think the argument he was making, and again, he's one of the more unusual dudes that are around. His argument was that he is a stronger one-on-one candidate against Trump than Biden is as a one-on-one candidate against Trump. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not.
Well, he said they can both split the cost, but they'll do a poll with swing states.
Yeah.
I think it was swing states. And whoever comes out with the best numbers gets it.
Yeah, I don't think Mr. Biden's going to go for that.
Maybe.
Good try, I guess,
it was worth a shot.
Mr. Kennedy. Yeah. But he is... If you look at the polls, you know, one day it looks like he's hurting Biden more, and the next day it looks like he's hurting Trump more, and he's sort of this unpredictable element in the election, which sort of makes it interesting. And if he's a third-party candidate that gets 10, 12, 8, 15% of the vote, and he draws fairly evenly from both candidates, it becomes utterly irrelevant. But as soon as it tips one way or the other,
yeah.
And again, it sort of depends week to week as to which way that's going. It could be determinative.
Oh, yeah.
And because right now you're looking at sort of a 2-point election. You know, Trump's up a point or two. He's up a point or two in the most crucial swing states, which are Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania at the moment. You know, that can change too. I find the RFK Jr. circus, and I say circus because it's sort of like a circus where you sit there with your popcorn and you watch unusual things happen.
Yeah.
And he's like that, where I just don't know exactly where this is going and how this is going to impact the election, but it's sort of interesting to watch.
Will he get to debate? Because I know Biden said during that. Did you watch that Howard Stern interview, by the way?
No, I saw the coverage of it.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
But, real
Howard
shock
was pretty
jock.
fawning over. Yeah.
Real shock jock. Very edgy. But, he said he will debate Trump. I still don't believe it. But doesn't that mean with the debate or the polls as they are right now, shouldn't RFK Jr. be in there?
Well, it depends how they negotiate it.
Yeah.
So the debates are, the traditional debates are run by the Commission on Presidential Debates, which sounds like it's a government entity, but it's not.
No.
It's just this independent nonprofit that throws debates. So there's no legal obligation for the presidential candidates to go to the Commission on Presidential Debates debate.
Right.
There's no legal obligation for them to debate.
Right.
They can negotiate it how they want to negotiate it. And there may be a situation where one or both of them wants RFK Jr. on the stage, or one or both of them wants RFK Jr. not on the stage. It depends where the polls are at. The higher he goes in the polls, the harder it is to exclude him. Ross Perot debated.
Prime example.
When he was running as an independent. And he was at polling. Well, he finished up at a comparable place where RFK is now polling. He polled higher. And that tends to happen with third-party presidential candidates, is what they actually get on Election Day is less than where they're polling.
Right.
Because some of their support will break away, say, oh, this person can't win, I'm going to go to
going to change my mind.
one of the other two that I like the best. So if he's polling at 10, he doesn't going to end up at 10. But it's going to be this sort of interesting negotiation as to, and I am inclined to agree with you, where it could be something where Biden sort of says he's willing to do it. And of course, Trump was immediately like, "Yep,
anytime,
let's do
anywhere,
it
right now.
Let's go right now." And then they find some excuse.
Yeah.
That something
my thought
came
is
up.
my prediction has always been kind of it's a Ronna McDaniel idea. We can't give him a platform. We can't give Trump a platform. They'll wait for some comment that Trump makes because, hey, I like Trump. He's going to say
some things that are controversial.
They'll say we can't give this guy a platform anymore.
And they'll use, I'm offended or something.
Yeah.
That would be a very probable path to do it. Because
he can't say sick or something.
Biden gets up on that stage with him, and Trump's going to go for the throat because he knows it's the chance to sort of show the world this guy is, medically compromised. Yeah. There's going to be a very serious discussion within the Democratic committee and within the Biden campaign as to whether you put Joe Biden in that situation. And I agree with you. I think they'll be very tempted to find an excuse to keep him off that stage.
And it's easy for him to say yes, he will in April on Howard Stern's show.
Right.
Why did he not? See, this is why I was running late on break when you're here. Why did he not do the Super Bowl interview? I mean, I still don't understand it because you look at that. Howard Stern was basically what the Super Bowl interview was like. I've never been more proud of my life of a it was pathetic. But anyway,
there's plenty of folks that'll give him softball questions.
Oh yeah. Did you see Nancy Pelosi calling Katie Tur a Trump apologist?
That one I did see.
How cushy does Republican or do Democrats have it in the media?
That's right. Because she was just pointing out that
global pandemic.
There's a global pandemic happening, and it's not apples to apples to compare jobs numbers between these two presidencies, and then. But yet the Democrats have gotten so addicted to soft coverage that when they get a fair question, they react as if it's some sort of hit.
I mean,
MSNBC, Katie Tur,
and even Katie Tur says that the show that they're biased says, I don't think anybody would call me that.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's not like she was going on Newsmax or something and getting something from the right. It was
exactly.
They have gotten really soft because they have been treated with kid gloves for so long.
Yeah. We got to take another short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Our water's better tasting. It's better for the planet.
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Getting aerial video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
Football League, Sunday, starting at 1 Eastern on Fox.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. It is the Steuben Senior Services section of our program with Joe Somplinsky, former congressman, current assembly candidate, and chairman of the Steuben County Republicans. Joe, we got a question during the break from a viewer asking what your opinion is about the taking in Palestinian refugees.
Yeah, so this is something that came out over the last couple of days where widely reported. It wasn't just one person online saying, I think Biden may do this. It was widely reported that the Biden administration is thinking about bringing in refugees from Gaza, settling them in the United States of America, giving them a pathway to citizenship, even. That is bonkers.
Yes.
And make me be clear, I'm sympathetic to refugees. I'm sympathetic to civilians caught up in this whole thing. I am against civilian casualties in any way, shape, or form at all times, no matter the conflict. But doesn't it make more sense to settle people closer to their home, in the Middle East, as opposed to bringing them to the United States of America?
Yeah.
Doesn't it make more sense to settle people in a Muslim country that is culturally closer to where they're from?
Sure.
Egypt has a border with Gaza and has locked it down.
Yes.
They won't let anybody out of Gaza. They could flip the switch tomorrow and let all the civilians into Egypt, and you would have mitigated the vast majority of any sort of humanitarian crisis that's going on in Gaza. Yet I don't see these protesters attacking Egypt.
No. Well, exactly.
Who has locked the door and locked these people into Gaza.
You would think they'd actually protest trying to bring them over here because we're so bad here. That's not fair.
Right.
Can't these guys catch a break?
So there are plenty of humanitarian solutions to this that do not involve bringing folks into the United States of America. It would be better for them to be closer to home. And then you have to ask yourself, how many of these folks how well are they going to be vetted if they come to the United States? Because not only do you have a lot of folks who are members of Hamas that would try and sneak in,
of course,
but we know for a fact that the overwhelming majority of even the civilians in Gaza are sympathetic to Hamas's cause.
Right.
So that doesn't make any sense at all. And then how tone deaf politically Biden is just to even have that thought out there is going to cost him votes in the election. The Biden campaign continues to amaze with how tone deaf it is to the needs and concerns and desires of the people that will actually decide this election, which are swing voters in the Midwest and Pennsylvania. And they just keep finding ways to anger them as opposed to win their votes. So if you're somebody on the Trump campaign right now, you're saying, "Ooh, keep going, Joe. Keep making these wonderful suggestions because you're gonna end up with him leaving office."
Well, let's change topic completely because I haven't asked this yet about New York State issues. What did you think? I don't think we've had a chance to talk about it. $237 billion budget. Newsday saying today that, a shocker here, New York State must rein in spending.
Yes.
Thank you.
New York State must rein in spending. The $237 billion for a single state budget is an insane number. it has dramatically increased over the time that the Democrats have been in one-party control, and just a gargantuan increases far beyond the rate of inflation. So it is an unsustainable path in Albany. They've come up with billions of dollars in there for the situation with folks coming across the southern border. Suddenly they can wave a magic wand and have that money out of thin air and not money for other priorities. So it is a situation in Albany where we need to have balance. We need to have a break in the total one-party rule, because much like we were discussing at the national level, at the state level, they also cater to their far left. And what is interesting is the same dynamics are occurring, where Biden's having problems with his radical base. The far left in Albany, who just got this $237 billion budget, thinks Kathy Hochul is this sellout, conservative Republican in sheep's clothing sort of thing. And
ridiculous.
She's pretty far to the left. She's pretty out there. You know, she's pretty radical. But her base has gotten so radicalized that you're going to continue to see the Democratic Party in New York State moving more aggressively to the extreme. And I think that'll be an opportunity in this year and in future years for there to be that balance, for the electorate to say, oh, these people have gone bonkers.
Yeah.
And remember, the biggest one of these protests is at Columbia University in New York State. So you're going to see some of this national effect also in New York State this year. So I think there's real opportunities for some common sense to return to Albany.
Well, I think when Hasty comes out and says that, punishment isn't a deterrent, and then we find out behind closed doors they're actually debating, Democrat versus Democrat, on whether or not to increase penalties for someone who hits an innocent retail theft or retail worker, randomly hits them. And there shouldn't be a stronger punishment, some thought?
Yeah, that was one of the major debates within the Democratic conference is, do you support increased penalties for retail theft?
Yeah.
And
but you hit a
how was that a
retail worker.
debate? Right?
Yeah, you hit a retail worker. You attack a worker who's just trying to do their job, not a very high-paying job, I would assume. And you have to even have that debate? That thought?
That's where the Democratic Party
really
is. That is a legitimate, not some side debate, a major debate in the budget process is on that issue. That's how bonkers the Democratic Party has gotten in Albany.
And I will say, I don't think Governor Hochul is the best politician.
She is not the best politician.
No.
She's actually a very bad politician.
Very bad. But I do think even she realizes that they've got to do something optically, at least, about public safety.
Right.
And it seems like Hasty and others are like, no, we got it made.
That's right.
We got it made.
That's right. She is concerned about where things are going in the next general election. She's right to be concerned about that, but she's held captive by this very radicalized segments of the majority caucus and the Assembly and the majority caucus in the state Senate, which are both supermajoritarian Democrat, to say any sort of increase in penalties or any sort of rollback of bail reform is not only incorrect in their opinion, but is racist. That is a very bonkers position to be at.
Before we go, Joe, because we're almost out of time, this ties in, pardon me, perfectly. How's your race going?
Good.
Running
good.
for
I'm trying to bring some of that common sense.
Perfect segue.
We're gonna, there you go. I'm the way to do it. No, things are going very well. Petitions went extremely well. I do not have a primary. I am the Republican nominee for the State Assembly in the 148th Assembly District. I am the Conservative Party nominee in the 148th Assembly District. There is another gentleman who is the Democratic nominee. So there will be a contested general
election. That came
election.
in last minute, right? I mean,
it did come in last minute. He had said he wasn't running, and then he was passed petitions. He is running, and so, but he's now says he's running, and I'm happy to have a discussion and the contrast and ideas between the team that I be on, which is sort of common sense Republican team, and the radical team that my opponent will join up with when he's in Albany, the Democratic team. Let's have a discussion of those priorities and those values and see how well they match up with the values of the people of Cattaraugus, Allegheny, and Steuben counties. And I'm sure that my values match up a lot better than the values of the New York City Democrats that are running Albany.
How can people help your campaign?
JoeSimplinsky.com is that's JoeSempolInski.
Right on the bottom of the screen. I put it on the bottom of the screen.
Oh, there you go. Wonderful. Oh, that's right, Joseph. And you can find out more about my policy positions there. You can donate there. You can sign up there. But it is going very well. I've been aggressively out and about in those 3 counties, campaigning in all corners of the district. I enjoy that. I've had my family with me at some of the stuff, festivals and parades where it's sort of kid appropriate. So we've been making the best of it as a family. I have a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old, so we have to do things that we've gone a couple maple festivals where there's pancake breakfasts, and I'm sure that we'll enjoy county fair season and those sort of things. So we're enjoying it as a family. It's a real honor to serve. It's a real honor to be the Republican and Conservative Party nominees without a primary. I'm blown away by that support, and we're going to continue working hard to take some common sense experience to Albany.
So we've picked the brain of a former congressman. Now we've talked about current assembly candidate. How about chairman of the Steuben County Republicans? How'd the petition season go for everyone else?
Yeah, petitions are good.
The day we talked to you was the day right before. Remember, everything was officially done.
Yes. And remember I said, at the moment, I don't think I have an opponent, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said anything. No. Because that's exactly what happened. The petitions got mailed in at the last minute. But I was very pleased with the amount of petitions that came back from the Republican committee. It was another very strong petition season for the Steuben County Republican Party. So I'm excited about the ticket that we're going to have. We now have a split in the congressional districts. We're the 24th districts in the northern part of Steuben County, 23rd district, southern part. But all of the county still is in the same Senate district, and Senator O'Mara is unopposed, so he's going to get reelected. Mr. Palmisano is unopposed, so he's going to get reelected. The other 2 assembly districts, including the one I'm running for, there is no primary, but there is a general election. So if you're in southwestern Steuben or northern Steuben, there will be a contested assembly election. Sheriff Allard is unopposed,
but he's running like.
He's. I'm co-hosting a fundraiser for him.
I know. I got the mail.
He's not messing around.
No.
I admire the sheriff for how seriously he takes this stuff. Every countywide candidate should act the way Jim does. And then at the moment, it looks like we will not have a primary for county judge.
Okay.
That it looks like Mr. Tunney will be the only candidate.
Okay, so that changed up a little bit.
Yeah.
But we talked with Sheriff Allard not that long ago. I'm out of time, but he generally likes the petitions season.
It gets him out and about.
He loves it.
He's a working sheriff.
Yeah,
he's talking to the folks, and he's should be praised for that.
Yes. I am out of time. I want to apologize to everybody who sent in questions. We just didn't have enough time. You get so many questions, Joe, that it becomes,
great. I love
we don't have time.
That's the best part.
Who knew 2 hours would not be enough?
3 or 4 is we need to go.
Closer to November.
Extended edition.
18 hours, frankly speaking. But thank you to everybody who wrote in. Thank you to for all the nice comments about Dwayne Eddy. If you're just tuning in, he did pass away. Wanted to mention that to you as we talked about it this morning and paid our tributes. Joe, thanks for giving us so much time, and we'll have to do this again soon.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Join us tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.